Well, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. We're going to be talking about the new Naira notes. As you know, the governor of Central Bank was in the National Assembly yesterday. Well, he finally, somehow, well, long story short, he was there yesterday. So this is a problem. This is a problem to most people, especially when they heard what was said. And what was said was that the cash swap, the central bank governor insists, looking at one of the papers this morning, insists on old notes, the 200 Naira, the 500 Naira, and the 1,000 Naira will no longer be tenable after February 10. That is, depending, people have heard a lot of things, but here it is from the central bank governor, and accuses commercial banks of breaching guidelines. Okay, my guest this morning is Mr. Yemisi Ojayemi. He is a financial analyst and an entrepreneur. He is CEO of Cyprus Cedar Limited. Thank you very much, Yemisi, for coming on the program.
Thank you so much for having me, sir.
It's most people just know how to grab hold of the money. They don't really know how it works. Right. People just know that if I don't have it, I'm in a jam. But of course, there are a lot of things behind there actually having that, Naira. The central bank has spoken about too much money being out of what it refers to as the banking system. Now, could you just comment, to open up on the central bank governor? You might have heard the rumors yesterday too. The central bank, it was reported that there's no more time limit. And now it's going to go, we don't worry about it. Actually, people still should worry about it, right?
Right.
Yeah, please.
Well, basically, when the initiative to redesign the note came up, I felt it was an opportunity to mop up the excess monies within the system. And when this happened, I also thought that there should be a balance in the sense that you are trying to mop up the old notes and then to replace them with the newly designed notes.
That's right.
But there's scarcity.
Yes.
So there's no balance.
So
I would have expected an in and out.
Has blamed the commercial banks for that.
Well, I don't see any reason why the commercial banks should be solely responsible for this, because CBN is not just the apex body that controls the money in circulation. They also spank those who are not in compliance. They must have a system to have to deal with this adequately. Now, I don't see any reason why the commercial banks will be enjoying having queues in their banks just because they want to have the newly designed and keeping it within themselves, except for the fact that we are aware that they also use it for other cashing out means. But again, CBN should have a kind of hammer, a kind of system to control this measure, not you and I.
Yes.
And they shouldn't be passing the bulk of the stress to us.
Before we came on air, I was saying that, well, it doesn't appear to be rocket science to most ordinary people. And this is, look, we sometimes speak about it jokingly. You might have seen videos online. The money is not available, yet you find them at ostentatious parties where people are spraying money, debasing the money by the things they are doing with the notes and all of that. And that has always been something that's out there, that's open. As in other countries, you could go to a bank in England or wherever in the West and actually request mint notes.
Perfect.
If you wanted to.
Absolutely.
Here, people might have tried it. I have tried it just for the heck of it. And you look like someone from another planet. Say, no, there's no new notes. Let me see what I can do for you. And then they begin to look for the ones that are not as badly defaced as all of the others. Federal government has been seeing this. Central bank has been seeing this. If you want to say they are the more liable. Yet nobody does anything about it. They never spend spent notes at parties. The people who like doing such things are sure to get, mint notes. This is where happily we just heard that the central bank says that it was able to trace, some of those notes. Well,
why are they just waking up?
Big deal. Why are they now waking up and telling us you are able to trace? So it doesn't look like all is kosher here. Absolutely. There seems to be more to this than meets the eye, is my thought.
That's correct.
That's why we needed an expert like you to in order to give the authorities something of the benefit of a doubt. Maybe you'd explain to us what some of the challenges are and that we don't understand outside there, apart from most people thinking it is, to use our local parlance, wuru wuru?
It is going to be a difficult thing to convince the people out there otherwise, because the hardship that people are experiencing from all of these little things are so bad. I mean, there's no empathy on lives, on humans, on businesses anymore. Now, if these things
Well, the central bank governor is reported to have said people should bear it for a while. It's only for a while, if that is going to be empathy.
That is a vague statement, sir. It's completely vague. People have been bearing a lot. Everything around us, look around us, is all about scarcity. Fuel, there's scarcity. Power supply, there's scarcity. Then the money, there's scarcity. So we have endemic issues that the government should look at, and now critically talking about the Naira itself.
Yes.
Take, for instance, my wife was going to the market, and the first thing she said to me was, there will be no money to pack.
Yes.
It's as bad as that.
Yes.
2 weeks ago, we were somewhere, and then we decided to stop at an eatery, a local eatery, to eat, and they told us it is only cash. We left there without eating. Now, something tells me it's not just going to be me or just us, but there will be more other people that would have experienced the same thing. That has reduced the expected or projected income, even for that business, as small as it is.
That's right.
So if you're looking at it at a micro level or home level, household level, down to business level, it is crazy. For how long do we need to bear?
Well, the whole idea, if we just sort of remember what brought about all of this, the central bank saying that there's far too much money out of the system. We need to be able to track and record. And the central bank governor was even saying, according to reports, that inflation has sort of not disappeared, but it's been tamed a bit. Apart from that, criminals, kidnappers are finding it a lot more difficult and that kind of a thing. All of those are supposed to have been the benefits of all of this. But
Absolutely.
You started this thing, and then monies weren't available. Those currencies weren't available. And until very, very recently, the banks were still issuing old notes.
Exactly.
Old notes through their ATMs.
Exactly.
And the central bank didn't do anything until now that they say they sent out all their staff on sort of a town's blitz to explain it. I don't know. It's a problem, really.
For me, it didn't even make sense that you're trying to mop up the whole currency, the whole Naira, and then you're still recycling them within the system. It doesn't make sense.
That goes to show what a lot of people, they may be wrong, but what a lot of people see as the insincerity of this particular process. We have a report. Let's play that. Okay. I'm understanding that I can't really see that, story now, because right now there's a global press conference and conference of political parties, and maybe they're going to be explaining something of it. So that's what you have on there. That's the way it is. So we will continue here locally with our conversation. So I wanted to play the report so that we could hear all these reasonings again. But, sorry, they have their pot open and they're speaking into my ear without knowing. So this is confusing me a bit. So how do we come out of this? Because the central bank didn't start seeing it as a problem until very, very recently. In spite of, probably, they should have been keeping their ears to the ground, and they would have heard all the problems that the society is having, and they just looked the other way. And now the central bank governor, was thanking the president for graciously permitting this policy to come on stream.
Oh my God, this is Nigeria, right? You're taking out the whole currency. You still want money, Naira, to be spent, because it's not completely a cashless society yet, whichever we want to look at it. And the new currency that you want people to use as a legal tender, they are not available. The inavailability of this new currency as a legal tender cannot be our own problem or something to want to fix. This is something that is beyond us. So I want to believe that when CBN came up with this policy, with this strategy to withdraw the old notes, and then to pump in the new ones, they had something that was well thought out through.
Yeah.
From A to Z.
Yes.
So if you're getting stuck at K, we are not privy to your plan to the end. So they have to go back to their drawing board. But what is essential is that there must not be scarcity of these notes.
In the midst of scarcity, bank managers are still selling mint, new, newly colored notes.
Exactly.
Bank managers are still permitting the sale of newly colored notes to these, party life enjoyers. That is a priority.
There should be a law enforcement agency that should investigate things like this. I mean, we go to parties, we go on the road. When you're going on Iwo Road, Ibadan, you see them flashing all this money.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes. So they have to pick them up. These things are open. They are open.
Anyway, I think I can play that report now.
Right.
Let's see that report now.
After last week's threat of arrest, CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele is before the lawmakers to respond to their inquiries. House Leader and Chairman of the committee, Adodogwa, kickstarts the business of the day. He seeks to know reasons behind the CBN Governor's inability to honor 2 earlier invitations. The House Leader also speaks to the challenges Nigerians are passing through arising from the cashless policy.
That the institution of the legislature here, in this case the House of Representatives, or by extension the National Assembly, and perhaps with the institution of the CBN, the central bank itself as an institution, are in every aspect of it components of the Nigerian government itself.
CBN Governor apologizes for inability to come respond to the Parliament's calls before now and restates his respect for the institution. In his presentation, Godwin Emefiele insists the policy is in the overriding interest of the nation's economy.
We are beginning to see some of the benefits. Like I said, inflation last month somewhat trended, at least it's not rising, it's not stagnating, it's somewhat moderating. And we're thinking and expecting that they will continue to moderate. Exchange rate will stay relatively stable. And what we're even hoping with this exercise, that Naira can even get stronger.
He blames deposit money banks for the scarcity of the new Naira notes and seeks the support of the anti-graft agencies to nip any form of connivance in the board. Godwin Emefiele apologizes to Nigerians for the difficulties being experienced.
You have your money that you have not been able to send into the bank. We certainly will give you the opportunity to bring them back into the CBN and redeem it. Either you pay it in your bank account or you want to do exchange, we give you. You will not lose your money.
I thank you and your team for, of course, admitting the position of the law. And that is all we expected. And at this point in time, therefore, the ball now falls on our court. We must go around on the street, especially to our constituencies at this very critical period, to let people understand that the law remains sacrosanct.
As part of measures the bank is taking to make the transition seamless, the CBN governor says 1.5 million super agents, otherwise known as agent bankers, have been effectively deployed to the grassroots. All staff of the Central Bank of Nigeria have also been effectively deployed to their localities to attend to the needs of the people. The bank's expectation is that with the support of the National Assembly, security agencies and anti-graft bodies, the nation's economy will be the better for it. Joke Edsa, TVC News, Abuja.
Well, our thanks to Joke Adisa there, just to sort of give you the backdrop, most of which you probably know already. But it has become a conundrum. Even the currency exercise that we're talking about now, there are those who have issue with the fact that CBN has decided to do this as close as this to the election. But then CBN is saying, well, it is the election that is actually part of the reason that we are doing what we are doing. You spoke about the shortage of fuel the other time. People, I don't know if one should say the shortage of PVCs, but in terms of picking up your PVCs, right. There are far too many that have not at this late stage. Maybe there's still some more time to sort of do the right thing. But we just have a problem on us. take hold of when the central bank governor says that there is at least some sort of an effect on inflation that would appear to be encouraging to him and his bank. Would you like to speak on that? How can you see how all of this is worth it? Because the central bank governor had said that we need to bear a bit, that these are teething stages.
Well, when you have too many macroeconomic issues affecting the people, there's a little to how much you can bear. The effect of the fuel crisis on people, you get to the filling station, you can't get fuel to buy and put in your generator because there is no light in the house. There's a shortage in power supply. And then you're also looking for money that is also scarce. There are too many things around here. So I think that government needs to look into all of this. It's not just about inflation. Inflation is just one of those economic factors. It's not just about inflation. If you're thinking about just inflation to mop up funds, what about the effects of inflation?
Well, maybe that's the part I wasn't thought through.
Exactly.
Maybe that's the part
Because everything has to be balanced. If it's not balanced, once you try to take care of one sector, it triggers another.
Now we are hearing via the central bank governor that the old notes at the expiration of their, shall we say, is it validity we say now, when you can't spend them anymore, because he's sticking with that 10 days extension.
Right.
No more than 10 days extension.
I think it's a 7 days additional grace period for people to keep bringing their notes. I mean,
okay.
Technically 17.
Okay, so technically 17.
Right.
But then he's explaining that the old notes are going to still be exchangeable only via or through the central bank. Now, as you know, the public doesn't have any business with the central bank.
Absolutely.
You don't walk into the central bank and say, I want to action my account with you. Only banks, well, among other people, banks primarily have accounts with the central bank, if I'm not wrong.
No, you're not. But we've found out these days that the central bank is doing beyond the remit of its responsibilities.
I see.
So it's kind of telling you that I could also act in the role of a commercial bank, if that were true. I mean, that's
from some actions that it has taken?
Absolutely.
Do you have ready just as an example of them behaving like a commercial bank, as opposed to being the banker's bank?
If you want dollars, you go to CBN, you get it. Which ought not to be. So that's just one.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
So why is it that you go to the commercial banks, they tell you, okay, you know what, I know someone in CBN, I'll put a call through, and then you get it. So what's that? So there is so much anomaly within the system. And when these anomalies are affecting the people and coming out to become obvious situations to be handled, this should have been a seamless transition from old Naira to the new one. But why is it not? Because of these anomalies.
So didn't, people in the central bank, business people like you, they've heard of something called a feasibility investigation and report. How feasible is this action that they were going to take vis-a-vis some of the things we've spoken about, the general comfort of the people, nobody losing out? Now, central bank, after the fact, is saying that they've sent out so many, I think thousands, all of its staff to go on something of a road show and go and persuade them and indeed try to help people, because now they're admitting, well, I won't say they're admitting, now they are sort of stating what has always been known or should have been known to the central bank, that there are swathes of communities that don't have access to the formal banking sector. And so you can't do what you wanted to do in the 3 months, which the president famously said, I don't know what the problem is.
Right.
3 months is more than enough. But of those 3 months, for 2 months plus, people were not able to access these notes.
When you want to carry out an exercise like this, like you said, you should have done a feasibility plan. Now, for this feasibility plan, you know from this stage to this stage, it will take me XYZ duration, and it will take me XYZ resources. CBN should have done all of these things. Now, perhaps they underestimated things that could come out if everything went as it were now.
Okay.
And because they did that, everything is now coming to open that CBN, for me, they were not fully prepared.
They didn't do a SWOT analysis.
Exactly. You know. So not being prepared right now is now bringing up the fire brigade approach, which ought not to be in the first place. So this fire brigade approach could have been severed or salvaged if CBN had done a proper feasibility plan to implement this new thing. So in the absence of that, we have found ourselves where we are.
Yes.
However, the extension could play both ways. If CBN is willing to pump in money, the new currency, and still be collecting, or completely stop the recycling of the old old notes.
That's what I would have thought.
That is what
exactly. If they are sincere and if they have prepared,
they're only using that one to cushion the effect of the lack of the new notes, which is obvious. But with that going on, we cannot achieve the aim of changing the currency. We can't.
Because, we know of other places where they have a need to go through a currency change for whatever reason. Okay, it might not be totally related to this, but in the UK, for instance, I understand new notes had to come on stream because they now have a new king.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that all the ones that bore the image of Queen Elizabeth of blessed memory now are not. They say that they will be going, side by side.
Absolutely.
And as I remember the story now, I didn't check up the details recently, but as I remember the story now, it's going to go on for as long as it needs to go on.
Absolutely.
So why?
It's meant to be a reducing plan. When you have, say, 300 billion out there, which are still old notes, and then part of the 300 billion old notes, 100 comes in. You should replace the 100 old notes with newly designed notes.
Yes.
And that is the only way that you can reduce and completely eradicate the old notes within the system. So that's what I think.
And look at those mint currency notes.
Right.
This is exactly what bank managers allegedly are giving preferential treatment to their customers.
Right.
Party agents. When I say party agents, I'm not talking political parties.
Absolutely.
I'm talking social parties.
Absolutely.
Because they want to go and flex. And so the kind of notes that you are seeing there, you see people, I don't know who those people are, but you see these stacks, it just evokes memories of the American rap scene, where they're carrying stacks of currency as a sort of a cultural thing among certain black people, black musicians. That's their own cultural thing. You see it at parties too, where there's the big man in front, and there are, whoever they are, assistants with these stacks, and are passing it to them.
True.
And they're not even spending single notes anymore. They are spending the words. They are tossing the words.
True.
So it goes. That is why CBN ought to know, indeed the president ought to know, that we have a problem, and that one of the problems is that of credibility. You can't put a policy out and expect all these people to be supportive of that policy, because there's no pain. There's no pain if things go wrong. The new notes that are brazenly sold on the highways, they're not worried about EFCC. They're not worried about intelligence officers. It's a peculiarly Nigerian thing, I said. Now we are being told that EFCC and other security agencies will now be working with Apex Bank on the new Naira note distribution and monitoring. Okay, it is what they have said.
It is. It's sad that we always wait till things become embarrassing, or when they become a mess, a complete mess, before we swing into action.
But the central bank governor said that is our habit, and he sort of tried to blame the situation on that, as if to say Nigerians didn't get up and were ready the very next day to receive new notes. He said that Nigerians like to wait till the end.
Well, it's easy for an institution to pass the bulk. When the institution too has failed in some responsibilities, you're disbursing this amount, you're disbursing this much, and you are not ensuring that the disbursements are used in the medium and in the areas where they ought to. If you found out that these monies are being spent or given illegally to somebody else who is trading with it and then giving it for ostentatious use, you should effect an enforcement. There should be.
Well, the fact that all of this is happening very close to the presidential and other elections is what is worrying some. And it's a situation, it's like we're turning a blind eye, as has been said in the past, and it's become something of a local modern proverb, trying to hide behind one finger. We don't know why that should be, but this is what we have. We have this situation on our hands. Well, Ada in Jos has called in. Good morning to you, Ada.
Good morning, Mr. Yori. Good morning to your guest.
Indeed, Yemisi Ojeyomi.
Thank you.
Yori, you know me now. This taxation policy or whatever, it's a good one, but the problem is the implementation is so poor, that if it were in a functional democracy, I don't think he will be in that office again. I'm telling you, permit me to say what I'm saying. Now, he said it will curb terrorism. I don't even believe that. I don't buy that idea. You know what? I hope you saw the video trending with terrorists brandishing their own heap of new notes too in the forest. Then the scenario, with the one you talked about before people went off for us here, about the video trending 20 people spraying the Naira. I remember during the time of Dorak in blessed memory, I think there was a law or so. That time the jingles said we don't abuse the Naira, it's a crime to spray it. That spraying is going on till today. Even with that video and everything, did anybody go to dig into it and fish out the people who were involved? Nobody. Sometimes you find the law enforcement agents even supervising the spraying. So I don't know, a lawless society. Then again, another problem again is that you see this kind of thing he's doing, the way he's going about it. After when all the chiefs are down, for us, retirees or civil servants, we don't have any problem because even the limit they gave, some of us cannot even, we don't have that kind of money, you understand? But the real businessmen, it's going to be a big deal for them. Most of them will not want to be banking their money again. You will see it to be worse than before when the dust settles. You saw what happened yesterday on your TV. What that honorable told us. Somebody had close to 90 million. You heard it now. It will be worse. The next time you will have triple that amount with the way CBN is going about this thing. All the same, let's not give up on this country.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Ada, for calling in. And you might have seen a video that's circulating. It's an extract of Governor El Rufai on a TV program. This morning, I believe it was captioned, where Governor Rufai was saying the quite worrying thing that he was afraid there might be people within the presidency that are against his party. Rufai, by the way, is of the ruling APC, right. And the candidate is Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So here was Rufai on television, asked by the reporter if there seemed to be discordance within Aso Rock on how to go with this election. And Rufai, actually, paraphrasing him now, said that he believes so. He believes there are those within the presidency that don't want his party to win the election. And that was a curious thing to say, but it's out there. As I said, if you haven't seen the video, the way things travel in Nigeria, you will see it very, very shortly, if you're on social media. Because that was taken directly out. He believes that, I don't know that he said in particular this money policy, but it is worrying that he says that there are forces within the presidency that don't want them to win the election because they have their candidate and the known candidate, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is not their candidate. And so the next best thing they can do is to frustrate the election and make sure that, that would be hard to reference or quote if it wasn't coming from El Rufai and in a video, not reportedly or it's written. So you see that we are in very delicate times, not to use the word dangerous, because the elections spark passions, and the way this is going, the most important thing I think is trust. Let there be trust.
Absolutely.
So if in the house of the principal cheerleader for the candidate of his party, we are hearing that there might be, disruptions in there, it's quite worrying, isn't it?
For me, it's normal. In looking at every home, you would still find out that there's always someone who is plotting against Joseph.